How's it going, man?
It goes, it's
You a
that time.
Jets fan?
Unfortunately,
It's a problem.
it's yeah. I don't get to be happy with sports. It's the Mets and the Jets. So
Sure. Yeah,
and
that's
and
yeah.
then the upper that this movie is. It's all great for me.
That's so
Um,
true. I know. Yeah.
well, it's funny though. When I was talking to Andrew, both Andrews
Yeah.
and Claire, it's funny. I didn't. I saw it at Telluride, and you kind of didn't know what to expect. They were sort of cagey about what the movie was about, and then when you realize, I had lost my mother in January, so I went, oh, that's what this is
Yeah,
about. And
right,
your
right,
first instinct is this is the last thing in the world I want to watch. But once
right.
you watch it, you realize it's kind of perfect for that because there's conversations you don't get to have.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I mean, listen, man, thank you so much for giving yourself to it. I think that's I would have ran from the screening room, to be honest. So thank you for sticking with it. But it's a film that is obviously about the experience of gay men, and
Yeah.
it's written by gay men, and that has that unique perspective. But the themes and what the film is exploring is so universal. Um, for anyone who's ever cared for another person or who's ever been loved by another person who, for whatever for reason or another, has lost that person, um, I just think that everyone in the world can take something from this film. I mean, I think it's a film that is impossible not to feel something from. There's just certain films where, like E.T. is a good example, where if you don't cry at the end of E.T., like there's just something, clearly there's something wrong with you. It's just the way that it goes. So the fact that it is resonating so, profoundly with people, and what it's offering people is some measure of catharsis, I think is, what a great thing to be involved with.
Well, because like you were saying, like I'm a straight male, but I latched on to the emotions of the relationship, but also the parent stuff. You could also watch this, get nothing out of the parent stuff just because that's not your experience yet. And the relationship is what crumbles you. The fact that it's so specific about two different things. And when I was talking to Andrew, he kind of confirmed that. It's like, yeah, because it's specific, it then becomes universal. If you try to, and this is a recurring theme with everything that's unique, if you try to make it for everyone, you make it for no one.
Yeah, correct. Exactly right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like if the parent story is the heart of the movie, then the relationship that Andrew has with Paul in the film is definitely the soul of the film too.
Very
So
much so.
it's, you have to have both. And the other thing is, like, your relationship with your parents does in some way kind of dictate what your romantic relationships are kind of like.
Yeah.
Like, it's by no accident that in the first, when I first introduced in the film, there was kind of this suggestion of
Yeah.
cruising, or there's this suggestion that is this man going to pick him up, and there are these kinds of like echoes of the romance that he has, and in some ways Paul is a kind of mirror of the dad character in some ways, with the
Very much.
mustache, and he's got a northern accent and stuff, so all that is very deliberate. But and the other thing is this, and it's one thing that hearing Claire talk about it more has kind of opened my mind to it a little bit, which is like, even the parents are children of someone,
Yeah.
right? They've had their own generational cyclical stuff about themselves that they're also kind of like figuring out. It's kind of hinted at very briefly, but I think my character says, like that his dad used to think he was soft,
Yeah.
so that he could then kind of firmed up and then kind of put all of that on his son. And it's just interesting. Like, there's so much to say about the way that families can impact each other and be cruel to each other, and hopefully survive each other in some way.
And I think you see it in the film. I think both of you and Claire, but I think especially in some of these quiet scenes, you see your characters contemplating sort of, oh, so I didn't get to see where this went, but now that I am, how much of this is my credit? How much of this is my fault? Should I feel like anything is my fault? Should I feel like I deserve credit? And without ever saying it, which I think is the interesting thing, the movie doesn't really stop for you guys to have those big movie moments. It's very much the real family moments. And I think just expressions on your face, it's frankly it's something we never see from the
Yeah.
character's perspective. You would never see that in another movie.
It's funny because I feel like we do see it a lot. I just think we see it in a way which is incredibly kind of cliched.
Yeah.
I think what Andrew Haig has managed to do is have just such a unique, honest perspective on these things, where people are communicating in ways which are kind of messy and are hiding how they're actually feeling, and that search for connection where they come close to connecting and just kind of miss each other. I think it's that dirty stuff, messy stuff that makes it more, honestly heartbreaking. I think that's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
How do you play something like that? Because obviously, if it's like, oh, a superhero, or it's like, you kind of have it's fake, I'm doing this, but for something that you're very much kind of getting into the emotions, and then that's obviously fun as an actor, but it's heavy. How do you find the guy? Because you're kind of sharing him with Andrew, both Andrews in a way, so it's
absolutely, yeah.
very feeling like collaborative experience. And how do you kind of let it go also?
I mean, I think, and everyone did this across the board. Me, Claire, the HODs, the makeup department, costume department. Everyone is bringing parts of their own life, sharing their life with each other, and that just established a trust and a sense of not responsibility. That sounds too big, but just a willingness to be open and to give yourself to something that was so uniquely personal. So, and that's very rare, honestly. I find that kind of level of investment, personal investment, to be kind of sometimes few and far between, honestly. So for me, the character is a kind of an amalgamation of so many of the male role models in my life. I never had a father growing up. I grew up without a father, so I would kind of pick things from my grandfather or from my uncle, or I remember like the feeling of my godfather's beard, and so this character is kind of an amalgamation of those male figures that were in my life at the time. But also for me, it is a kind of form of therapy in some way, because there is a longingness in me as a human being that wants like dad to sit down and say, I'm sorry. And then, it's no accident that I'm shooting a scene where I'm sitting down with the son and saying, I'm sorry. There's something kind of devastating about it, but also just brilliant about it, because you get to exercise these things that you ordinarily maybe wouldn't.
Oh yeah, and then if you want to be that guy at the end of the day, you'd be like, I got paid to go to therapy. So
yeah, no, 1,000%, and the best form of it, because I mean, like we were connected. I mean, I know it sounds a little lame, but like me and Claire and Andrew were really quite connected by the end of this, and we shot it chronologically, our stuff at least. So our final thing we did was that diner scene where we say goodbye, and then like we left. We said goodbye, and that was it. Like Andrew didn't see us again, And so by that time, we were all just so invested and just had genuine feelings for one another that scene was made all the more.
I can imagine. And yes, that scene wrecked me, but in the best way possible. Because
absolutely, yeah.
Hearing that, and you're never going to hear that, and you got to hear it. So there's something there, and I think you guys, should be very proud of it, just on the level of work, but also in terms of people who are feeling like they can share those things, and what you said to me, what I said to you, it's the movie that's bringing it out. So that's kind of amazingly special. So you should be incredibly proud of this.
No, I am. I carry the movie in me. Like I don't really say that about much of the work that I've done, because everything's different, right? But like this movie specifically, and being a father of 3 kids, like it's hard to make something like this and that not impact you, and for it not to linger with you. And I hope it lingers with the audiences as well in that way.
I suspect it will. So I look forward to next time hearing about how it's continued to be in you. And and thank you so much for doing this,
dude. I appreciate it, man.
Likewise. Thank you.